Ruben Amorim warns it will be like this until the end of the season following another Premier League defeat against Wolves. Manchester United have approached the agents of two Atalanta players. Conte wants Alejandro Garnacho at all costs. Manchester United need a centre-forward as an urgent priority, and we're expected to make an offer for one in the coming days. And Romano says that Casemiro can still leave this summer. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So first of all, give us your thoughts and feelings on the match and the performance yesterday. I actually thought, it's disappointing to lose. Nobody likes to lose, right? I'm the worst when we kind of lose. But actually, considering this team, it could have been worse. And I actually thought we played, we were by far the better team. It's just the same old with United, isn't it? We just can't score goals. There is no goals in this team at all, not just the centre forwards, but even the players that were on the pitch and some of the ones that are bringing on as well. Like, where are the goals coming from? It's just so bad. Like, we've literally, I think we've got, I think there's teams in the Championship that have a better forward line than we do. At this moment in time, it's just absolutely limp, to say the least. And then we concede one goal with one free kick. It was a good free kick, to be fair. And then because of that, you're always up against it because we can't put the ball in the back of the net. But other than that, I actually thought it went better than I expected when I saw the team. I thought, God, this is going to be a tough game, and it's going to be a back to the Wolves job, and we're potentially going to be a lot more uncomfortable than what we were through the game. And yes, it was boring, and it did have the kind of feel about it as a, like it does towards the end of a season where you've got two teams with nothing really to play for, just kind of, limping towards the end of the season. And that's exactly how I thought that kind of game went. Do you know what I mean? But there were some some positives to take from it as well. None other than Tyler Fredrickson, who I thought had a really good debut. Won more duels, so 12 out of 15 than any other player on the pitch in his Premier League debut. No player on the pitch completed more passes, 39, or made more ball recovery, 6 than Tyler Fredrickson in the first half against Wolves. That came from Statman Dave as well, and I thought he had a really tidy debut. A little bit safe, but you're going to be safe on your debut, 20 years old, at Old Trafford. You're not going to, start wanting to play Hollywood balls and giving the ball away left, right, and centre. Keep it simple. Give it to the more experienced players around him, which is exactly what he was doing. And I thought he held his own really nicely as well. So shout out to Tyler Fredrickson. I thought that was a really good debut performance from him as well. And the same for Harry Amas as well. I thought Harry Amas was probably our best player on the pitch. I thought he was a man of the match performance, put some lovely balls in, good defensive work as well. Thought that, the fear with Amas has always been around his physicality, but I thought he held his own as well, put some, and is a really good attacking outlet down there as well. It's just a shame that we've got nobody in the box, because I thought Amas put some decent balls in. I thought Dorgu on the other side was putting some good balls into the box as well, but there's just nobody there to anticipate or finish these chances because we've literally just got We've got no striker, have we? I mean, Rasmus Højlund is so out of form and so out of confidence that, effectively we are starting games with 10 men now playing Højlund. And I just hope that his European form, he can find something in the Europa League games between now and the end of the season, because, God, we're going to need some sort of creativity and some kind of goals. But then, to be fair, in the Europa League we are actually scoring goals. It's just in the Premier League we can't. And but the goals we're scoring in the Europa League are not coming from our forwards. Our forwards are just inept when it comes to that. I actually thought Garnacho had a pretty decent game as well. One of the frustrations with Garnacho is his constant kind of shooting, but actually I thought he laid about 3 or 4 decent balls into the box, which our players should have done better. I think Mount had one that he cut the ball back, that he ballooned over. Bruno had one that he ballooned wide. Eriksson played a lovely outside of the ball to Mount, who again couldn't finish. Højlund can't anticipate things neither as well. So I actually thought that we created a lot of opportunities and we should have won that game 2 or 3-0 if we had a striker or we had forwards that can kind of finish chances. But at the moment we don't, and that's why we are where we are in the league, because we simply do not score goals. I think we've got the worst attack in the Premier League, and I think we've got, like I said, I think arguably we've got a championship level attack, and goals win games. But just going back to Fredrickson, Nave Salt said that Tyler Fredrickson is frequently praised for his humility within the Manchester United camp. Coaches view him as an eager learner with strong football intelligence as well. So fair play to him and for Harry Amos, because I thought they were our two best players, I think, on the day as well. And it just shows sometimes, yes, it's not the ideal environment to bring through kids, but sometimes they'll surprise you. And I was surprised by Fredrickson as well, because I thought he did good. And I thought Cheeto came on and looked lively as well when he came on in the second half as well. It's just a shame, that some of the senior players that we've got, other ones letting us down at the moment, aren't they? And I thought Ruben Amorim summed it up quite well himself. He says, easy to sum up. They scored on their only chance while we missed several. It's impossible to win without scoring. And that's the problem in this team. There is no goals in this team. Definitely not in the Premier League anyway, as well. And that's not going to change with coaching, unfortunately. That's, for me, it can only change with personnel changes. That's the only thing that's going to, we need to bring in better quality forwards. Hopefully Ahmad can come back soon and give us like something to kind of, because him and Bruno have carried us this season, I think, in terms of their goal contributions and assists and stuff. We need Ahmad back, don't we? But give us your thoughts on the games in the comments. Let's run through some of Amorim's other quotes. So he said, being better doesn't count if you don't score, because it's the result that counts. We had a lot of chances. We controlled the game. We blocked the best players, and then the set piece changes the game. It's frustrating, and I kind of agree. That's how I felt, the game went. We dominated everything, created the best chances, but, can't score. And then they score with one free kick up the other end, and then you lose the game, which is annoying. And then specifically on Højlund, who's coming under the fire at the moment and under the microscope, where he said that the only way is to work, show him videos. He has to score a goal. He won't score if he doesn't play. He has to score one. Maybe that will be enough. And this is when he was asked whether he should be kind of dropped and taken out of the team. And he was saying, look, I need to work with him and show him how to kind of do it, but that he needs a goal, and he's not going to score a goal if he's on the bench, and we've got no other forwards to really play, although there's an argument to say let's just play Cheeto in the Premier League now. Unfortunately, Cheeto can't play in the Europa League, but can't be worse, surely can't be worse than Højlund at the moment. And then going forward, Amorim also said we have an idea of what the team needs, but we've also played with at least 3 players up front who can score goals. The whole team needs to score more. We have to improve collectively, because if you don't score goals in the league, it's impossible to win games. And he also said, we're honest with the fans. There's a lot missing from our team. There's a lot to do to improve the team. It will be like this until the end of the season, and then we'll have to do something. So Amorim himself admitting that unfortunately, it's not going to change now, because obviously Xerxes injured. So we've got no other choice, but we're going to have to keep rotating the team and resting players, because we can't risk injury because of the Europa League. That means that we are going to see more games like this. And I struggle to see where our next win's going to come from in the Premier League, being completely truthful with you, which is going to be an absolute, meltdown for some fans, and that as well. And we're already going to have our worst ever Premier League finish as well. And what can we do? It is what it is. I mean, I don't think this is a coaching issue. I think it's a player profile issue. And until we get players in, then we're just going to limp over the line for the end of this season, and just hope that we win this freaking Europa League, because then I can just erase the Premier League from memory and just concentrate on the fact that we went unbeaten in Europe throughout the entire season and won a trophy and got into the Champions League. But give us your thoughts on all of that in the comments. Now, on transfers, that's going to be one of our, that's got to be the priority now. For me personally, I'm just hoping we win the Europa League, concentrating on that, and then just worrying about transfers and who we're going to kind of bring in the summer, because that's the only way I think we're going to be able to progress as a team going forward is with better quality players throughout the team. Samuel Lucker said that Manchester United intend to sign a goalkeeper and striker in what is shaping up to be a drastic summer transfer window at the club. Ruben Amorim decided less than 2 months into his tenure that United would need a new goalkeeper to compete with Onana, and a centre-forward is an urgent priority. I think most would agree with the striker being an urgent priority. Priority in the team. Some of you will say that the goalkeeper is an urgent priority as well. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think we need it just depends on the budget and what other areas we kind of need to strengthen first. But that's interesting that Samuel Lukas was saying less than 2 months into his tenure, he decided that he needed a goalkeeper and a striker. So we need to see how that kind of progresses. Obviously, there's loads of talk at the moment with goalkeepers, with 10s, strikers. So we need to see how that kind of progresses. In terms of strikers, though, Samuel Lukas did say that Ipswich Town goal scorer Liam Delap has been identified as an ideal recruit. United have maintained contact with the agent of Benjamin Sesko, the RB Leipzig frontman who rejected United in the summer of 2022, and that Napoli would have to sell Osimhen, 26 this summer, is out of contract next year, but it's unclear if United would have the budget to finance a deal. So according to Samuel Lukas, there's 3 of the names, but they're not exactly surprising, and it's not exactly surprising that we're prioritising a striker and a goalkeeper. We know we are looking for a goalkeeper, but whether we're going to bring in, a number one choice, or it's believed it's going to be a young, up-and-coming kind of goalkeeper to compete with Onana, and that Onana might stay. But if we get a bid for Onana, that could change our plans as well, because I think the goalkeeper might depend more on player sales, reading between the lines. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, in terms of strikers, a Manchester United scout was present at the San Siro Stadium to watch the game between AC Milan and Atalanta to monitor midfielder Ederson and striker Mateo Retegui. Man United have already approached the agents in the last week to open talks. Now, that came from a fairly good Italian journalist who was kind of quite reliable and spot on with the whole kind of Garnacho situation in January. Was actually kind of, praised a bit by Romano as well, from getting some stories, around that time as well. So that's interesting. Obviously, Ederson is one that we know we're interested in. Seems to be probably the top linked midfielder. That doesn't mean we're going to get him. He's just the name that gets banded around a lot by a lot of the kind of mainstream media and journalists and stuff. But Retegui, what are we thinking about that? That's an interesting kind of profile and name. 25, so he's a good age. He's a good goal scorer as well. 44 appearances, 26 goals and 6 assists this season. Obviously clearly a much better goal scoring record than when we spent 70-odd million pounds on Højlund, who'd only had 9 goals and less appearances than Retegui. Really interesting profile. Good stats as well. I like him. I think he'd be an interesting kind of option. The cost, it doesn't kind of mention in the report. He's valued at around 45 million euros on transfer market, so not going to be necessarily the cheapest of options to maybe bring in. But I like the idea. But then I like the idea of any striker at the moment. I think anyone that's half decent could do a job in this team, because we are creating chances now. We've just got nobody to kind of finish them off, nobody that can read the game, whether that's, like I said, we're crying out for somebody that can put the ball in the back of the net. And Retegui, for me, would be a really interesting profile of option, but we need to keep an eye on it. I'd still want to see a bit more credibility regarding that, but according to the report, just going back to it, approach the agents in the last weeks to open talk. So this could be one to keep an eye on for Ederson and Retegui. But whether, again, I'd still want to see a bit more credibility personally before getting too kind of excited about it. But give us your thoughts. Be interesting to hear what you've got to say on that in the comments below. Do you think good shout? Not a good shout? Do you think we should be looking at other kind of targets? I know we've all got different opinions on who we want for the striker situation. That's obvious from previous videos when we've been linked with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in that kind of particular area. But give us your thoughts on Retegui. It'd be interesting to hear what you've got to say regarding that in the comments below. Another striker linked with Victor Osimhen. So according to another Italian journalist who again has been quite credible recently, saying that Victor Osimhen is Manchester United's big transfer target. Obviously brought the news yesterday regarding Turkish journalists suggesting that maybe something's kind of done, although I still am yet to see any credibility to back those claims up. That feels a little bit to me like either just nonsense BS, clickbait, or maybe agent talk where they're putting it out there that United are interested to try and get more interest in Osimhen or a better contract in Osimhen, so he can go to the negotiation tables with the Saudi Pro League, for example. Say, well, Man United are interested, and they're going to pay £12.8 million net, so we want a little bit more than that. that's my feelings at the moment, but obviously things could kind of change regarding that. But again, another Italian journalist suggesting that Osimhen is United's big transfer target. Yeah, it is what it is with Osimhen. It's the daily Osimhen brief. This is today's daily Osimhen news, is that he's our big transfer target. Now, another striker that actually could be on the agenda is Manchester United in the running to sign 18-year-old Le Havre striker Enzo Kana-Biyik, and they're expected to make an offer in the coming days. Now, that came originally from a French journalist. I believe it was yesterday. When it kind of caught my attention as well. However, Christopher Michel, who's a very good German kind of journalist, reporter, transfer expert, whatever you kind of call him now, who is someone I do pay attention to, has kind of confirmed the story as well, saying Enzo Kana-Biyik joining Manchester United looks positive. Negotiations with Le Havre are not necessary as he is a free agent. So 18-year-old, there's not much data on him. I know nothing about the player. This is one of those ones where, this has got Christopher Vivell's fingerprints all over him. But remember, Amorim in an interview recently said it's not just about, in terms of transfers and recruitment, it's not just about going for the big names. It's also going for the 17-year-olds that are out of contract that we can get into the club and show them that there is a pathway to the first team. And this is a sort of player that ticks that kind of box. Obviously out of contract. Last player, if I remember rightly, young player that we bought from Le Havre was Paul Pogba. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that one. And the Muppeteers has said before recently that there's a possibility of an unnamed prospect striker that currently plays in France. I don't know if this is who he's talking about, because the Muppeteers were saying that United are looking to maybe bring in, a top striker and maybe 2 or 3 young strikers as well, or prospect strikers to play in the reserves and compete with Cheeto and people like that kind of going forward as well, because I do see it as obviously a priority position. And if you can get some young players coming in the pipeline as well, then brilliant. So yeah, that's definitely one to kind of keep an eye on. That's one that I think would be, obviously an easy deal to do if he's out of contract and stuff. So, but yeah, give us your thoughts. Let me know if you know about the player. I know nothing. There's not that much data out there neither as well. Apparently he's obviously he's an interesting player, a talented player as well, and one that they kind of see that fits the model of the kind of prospect signings that we're looking to make as well. But give us your opinions on that in the comments below. Now, Ekrem Konate, who have not heard from a couple of days, has said that Morten Hjulmand is on the radar of top European clubs heading into the summer transfer window. Sporting remain open to selling the player for the right price. Manchester United, Arsenal and Tottenham are in the race to sign the player. Now, Ekrem Konate is going to start running out of players to link us with soon. That I'm sure he's going to start doing stories linking us with our own players, because he's literally linking us with every Tom, Dick and Harry at the moment regarding transfer news. But again, I keep saying it, got a very large following, works for Caught Offside, and he's got gets reposted by aggregator accounts and stuff. I am yet to be convinced on the credibility, because when it's a case of if you throw that much shit at the wall, eventually some of it might stick, and that's how I feel regarding Ekrem Konate. Hjulmand would be an interesting option though as well. I don't know, is he the right profile of player that we need? I'm not entirely convinced. I think we want more of a ball-carrying midfielder is what it's believed. I don't think Hjulmand fits that kind of box, but maybe as a Casemiro replacement, like a rotation option for Ugarte, possibly. But again, I would say take it with a pinch of salt for now. I'd want to see a bit more credibility, personally. But give us your thoughts on Hjulmand in the comments. Now, just mentioned a player there, Casemiro. Fabrizio Romano said that Casemiro leaving is still a possibility. If a good proposal for the player and club arrives, he can still leave. So Romano confirming that, there's still a possibility that Casemiro could leave in the summer. I do think they are going to want to look to sell Casemiro because of his wages, although, he has been instrumental in the Europa League games recently, and actually, has kind of turned his career around almost at United under Amorim, because he is... it's weird, isn't it, the Casemiro situation? Like, it is really strange. Came in, did really well, and then sucked for ages, and then Amorim came in, decided to not play him, and now he's doing really well again, and it's just, it's a crazy situation, the Casemiro one. But I still think we got an offer for him, they'd want to kind of sell him. But then, if we don't, it'll be in his last year of his contract. He's obviously on a large contract at United as well. as a rotation option or as an experienced kind of player, because we are going to be losing some experienced players in the summer with Johnny Evans, Tom Heaton, like these players that are not necessarily doing much on the pitch, but do a lot behind the scenes in the dressing room and stuff as well, especially when you've got young players coming through, that they are really kind of helpful in that regards. I don't think we should be playing £325,000 a week, though, for someone just to help the youth teams come through, but he's an experienced player that can come off the bench or play in certain games, so it's not the end of the world. I don't think necessarily keeping Casemiro. It's just the wages would be massive for us in a summer where we need to try and get as much done as we can. So yeah, we need to keep an eye on what happens with Casemiro, but give us your thoughts on that. And then the other player that we could be looking to move on in the summer is Alejandro Garnacho. So Garnacho is Antonio Conte's #1 target for Napoli. Conte wants him, whatever the cost and expenses, to have him, and expects to have him next season. Now, again, that came from the same Italian journalist that's been very decent recently, regarding obviously the Garnacho situation and kind of news and reports regarding Serie A, and Napoli suggesting that Antonio Conte wants him, whatever the cost, and expects him to be at Napoli next season. And that's really interesting because obviously we know the links were there. They wanted him in January. Deal couldn't be done because of obviously the price, but interestingly as well, Napoli have the money still from selling Kvaratskhelia. And maybe they could be looking to do an early deal like in June. And if we're in a position where we need money, because that's the end of the PSR kind of period, then it might force United into a hand where we have to sell Garnacho just purely to comply with PSR. Although I don't think it's as bad as that, going off of some of the kind of reports. United have always been believed that they're okay with PSR this year. Next year might be a bit of a struggle, which is where the kind of sales come from. But, obviously there's interest maybe in Osimhen. Can we do a deal, something there as well? But again, there's no smoke without fire regarding Garnacho. And Napoli, there's clear interest in there. Napoli would have the funds potentially available to do a deal early as well. And if Antonio Conte, history would suggest that when he wants a player, more often than not, he expects the club to back him in that kind of move as well. And if he's wanting Garnacho and they've got the money to do it, and we're in a position where we might need to sell in order to buy, then, it's plausible, isn't it? It's looking plausible. And I actually think Garnacho had a good game yesterday. The frustration with Garnacho is his constant shooting in his final kind of ball, but I thought he played all right yesterday. His kind of decision-making was way better in terms of getting in the byline, putting crosses in. Should have had 3 assists, I think, yesterday, Garnacho, so it'll be a shame. But maybe he wants to go himself. I've said this to my brother-in-law before. I said, what if Garnacho doesn't want to be a number 10? What if he wants to be a left winger? And that's it. He sees his career as, no, I want to be on a left winger. I don't want to be an inside 10. Thank you very much. I just want to cut inside and constantly shoot on my right foot. That's how I see my career. And, and he doesn't see that kind of future at United. What if he wants to go himself? That couldn't be ruled out as well. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way and subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.